Educational Proposal on Teachers' Activism. You are going to watch a video of how teachers can contribute in the building of a non-sexist education. Feminist, a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. Those were the words that Chimamanda Ngozi used to define a feminist person. 2 years ago, Chile witnessed a new contemporaneous wave of feminism, which was stirred by women that were mostly from universities and schools. That feminist movement had enormous power, and universities and schools were on strike for several months. What women were demanding was the end of femicides, salary equality, and a complete change in the educational paradigm of teaching, under the motto, non-sexist education.
Nowadays, the idea that people's abilities, interests, way of being and way of thinking are different depending on their sexes. This issue is present in several dimensions of our lives. One example of these dimensions are educational institutions. For instance, these institutions replicate the idea that men are better than women in science and math, which is demonstrated in the following statistics.
According to DEMRE, 89% of the national scores are from men, especially in the areas of sciences. At the same time, research made by PISA demonstrates that, on the one hand, 50% of parents want their sons to study a scientific career. On the other hand, the same research demonstrates that only the 17% of parents want their daughters to study a scientific career. This situation happens because teachers tend to enhance scientific abilities mostly in men, since there is the cultural belief that women are better in other abilities. What can be done to tackle this situation? Starting a feminist pedagogy in the universities that educate future teachers may be a solution to avoid sexist education.
Or motivations to portray the contribution that teachers can do in order to create a non-feminist education where the feminist movement and its ideology, or experiences as women, and our pedagogical stance as pre-service teachers. During the last 2 years, the feminist movement in Chile has taken great importance demanding equality, the right to choose maternity, the end of violence against women, and the implementation of a non-sexist curriculum in the educational institution. Considering the feminist movement, our ideologies, and experiences as women and future teachers, we strongly believe that feminist theory is an important and relevant framework to be implemented, methodologically and pedagogically, in teachers' education. Therefore, taking into account that education and teaching have a fundamental role in the transformation of the society, implementing feminism into pre-service teachers program could help teachers to have a better way of deepening their understanding of the social construction of gender stereotypes, to be self-reflective, critical, and counter-hegemonic in their future teaching practices.
Why do we think it is important to address this issue? We consider this issue important because gender stereotyping places unhealthy demands on both sexes, which inhibit their natural talents and interests from being developed. This reinforcement of gender stereotyping leads to the perpetuation of discrimination against women, since most of the human traits seen as feminine have less social value. Besides, it is important to identify how sexism reproduces economical, political, and cultural inequalities. Even though there have been improvements in this area, we still live in a society that does not address gender equality. For example, in Latin America, only the 22% of the parliament are made up of women. That is to say, most of the positions of power are integrated by men.
So, what can teachers do to tackle this segregation? Now, you are going to hear the steps of our proposal.
The first step that should be considered by teachers and future teachers is that Chile needs a change of paradigm in education, which has to be progressive. We believe that this change of paradigm can start individually from teachers and future teachers. Hence, we consider that the first step that each educator should do is to reflect upon their personal experiences in order to identify how gender stereotypes have been involved throughout their exercise as teachers or their development to become one. The main objective of this step is to enhance teachers to become aware of their teaching practices in order to avoid reproducing gender stereotypes while working at schools.
The second step of this project consists of providing educators plenty of opportunities to learn about gender issues and become conscious on how it affects students and social reproduction. To achieve this objective, we consider that teachers should take workshops to learn, acquire knowledge, and critically reflect on gender issues. Currently exists a variety of workshops available on the internet that are related to gender and sexism. For example, the project named Abramos la Academia, provided by the Comisión Nacional de Investigación Científica y Tecnológica, offers free workshops that can be carried out at schools. This workshop aims to question the beliefs that reproduce gender inequality that may be related to the teaching methods of teachers, especially the ones that foster unequal and discriminatory learning outcomes. Thus, we believe that every teacher and school should consider acquiring learnings on gender. In this way, teachers may contribute to declining systematically gender gaps that we have in our Chilean context.
We believe that in order to create a new non-sexist paradigm on education, it is important to consider the formation of teachers. Hence, the final and most challenging step of our proposal is to establish feminist courses within the curriculum of the universities that provides careers on pedagogy. This change in the curriculum may help future teachers to recognize and identify dynamics that generate inequality and exclusion. These courses should address different aspects of a non-sexist education, such as the knowledge and tools that teachers should acquire regarding gender, in order to build a non-sexist school. At the same time, providing theories on sexism and feminism, as well as to include a minimum of 50% of literature written by women. This could be useful for future teachers to foster ways to solve conflicts related to sexism. Sexism has always been in our culture, and it has been present in schools for several years. The belief that women are only worthy of being teachers or mothers, and men can only be engineers or scientists, is an expression of segregation, which hinders the possibilities of development of women and men. Principally, this phenomenon happens because schools do not foster a non-sexist education. That is one of the reasons why the feminist movement in the last 2 years have been fighting for.
Our project is focused mainly on scaffolding a process to establish courses with a feminist and non-sexist approach within the curriculum of different pedagogies. Sexism has been hindering the areas of development of women and men. Hence, our project aims to provide knowledge and tools for future teachers and to the ones who are in exercise. With this project, our objective is to tackle the sexism that schools have been reproducing for decades.
Finally, it is necessary to point out that the pending challenges in terms of gender and diversity are not exclusively for teachers, but also of educational institutions. It is relevant to highlight that this is a problem in which the different agents from society have to contribute. Promoting gender equality and respect inside and outside of the classroom, it is a duty of schools, teachers, and parents.
People must understand that sexism is present daily, and it affects women and men. Hence, building a non-sexist education, focusing on teachers' development, could be useful to tackle or at least decrease sexism in school, which is the space where it is mostly reproduced. According to Azua, children learn gender stereotypes within the school. Hence, it is fundamental as teachers to be aware of it.